Now for business updates across the African continent, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, good to see you, Ayo. Welcome back. Good morning to you. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers. We begin with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. They released footage from their presidential dialogue with the three front runners for the presidential election. It was Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, and Atiku Abubakar of the PDP. I was particularly interested in what to finally hear, Tinubu speak to the NESG and answer a number of questions on a number of issues. He gave a presentation, full presentation on the economy before he began. Talked about giving tax breaks to oil and gas companies to incentivize them to come back to Nigeria. He talked about giving tax breaks to companies to spur them to employ more youth. He talked about incentivizing. It was incentive for youth to go back with respect to agriculture. He talked about adding revenue to the country, removing the fuel subsidies, and that, plugging that revenue back in. Peter Obi talked about, debts. They asked all of them a number of questions. Also, 2 questions from the audience. So it was pretty engaging. Although I think it was January the 13th for Tinubu, the 16th for Atiku, and February the 6th for Peter Obi. So they're on 3 separate days. More engagement. We still want a debate, though. We still want a full-fledged debate with the candidates. We want to hear from them. I'm not sure this close to the election whether or not we are going to get that. Cashless, NIBS, some data from NIBS on the electronic transactions for January. Big spike. 2.37 trillion naira worth, 125% year on year compared to January of last year as far as mobile user transactions. Instant payment volumes, 546 million of them, a 55% climb. But still, there are issues with respect to the transactions hanging and with respect to delays. But as the CBN said in the press conference a couple weeks ago, they're working on it. The payment infrastructure is there, and this is evidence of that big move since we've had the issues with the whole Naira swap and then with the Supreme Court and everything else. So this is just a reflection of the large volumes that we've seen. And speaking of which, Edo State Governor Obaseki says that government operations and government transactions will move cashless on March the 1st. So I believe this is the first state in the country that is making this announcement with respect to them. So, in every crisis, there's an opportunity. I think, if you think about what COVID did with everybody moving to virtual meetings and so on, some states are taking the initiative. So this is just the government and just the government operations in Edo State going cashless March the 1st. Then the fuel pumps. Remember Ayo wasn't here, but last week we were talking about the concept of being able to pay for self-service fuel using cards, which fuel stations, as we know, only take cards when it comes to these transactions for self-service in certain countries. So I had Olumide Afolabi, who is the CEO of Touch and Pay, which is the parent company of the cowrie cards that Governor Sanwo-Olu talked about with respect to the transportation. But the thing about the technology is that you can layer it and do other things. So I asked him about it, and apparently there is a company that's already working on that. So here's what he had to say.
So there's a company called Epoms.
Epom,
yeah.
Okay.
They have a product called Remis System Solutions. Remis. Right. And they have over 6,000 stations right now where they've put a technology that is integrated into the pumps, and people can actually do self-fuel. They can self-fuel themselves.
This is what we're looking at right now.
Exactly.
Yes? Okay.
Exactly. So what we are doing now is that we are integrating the cowrie card into this technology.
Yeah.
And we're going to be having a dedicated pump for self-service.
Okay.
So the whole idea is that if you have your cowrie card, you can go in and then you can just, pay, and then you can dispense. And it will dispense only the amount of fuel that you paid for.
Yeah.
So once it is done, the fuel will stop dispensing. So you can't even cheat the system.
So, and the conversation went beyond there. We even talked about integrating identities and using their touch and pay tech even for elections. So if you think about, and the technology that they're using doesn't require the internet. So if you think about loading your card and going to a bus and tapping it and the money goes from the card to the terminal and you're able to pay for a bus, you fuel stations, you tap, you pay for your fuel, self-service, you go. If you upload the voter data for using like the new Afrigo card from NIBS and the CBN now, conceptually, with the same tech that they're using, instead of these card readers that they're shoving in and out of these machines and everything else for the PVCs, if theoretically you were to put all that voter information on that card, you could theoretically tap it and the voter information is uploaded. So it's really just, I mean, this is, when we talk about tech that you can layer different things on top of, this is what we're talking about here. So it's pretty incredible stuff. Sahara Group and NNPCL have brought 24-hour power to a Ajoki community, which is in Edo State. It's through a 24-hour gas-powered electricity project. And they essentially, it's about, I think about 1 megawatt, and it's been able to provide 24/7 power to this small community here in Edo State, something that they've announced, joint project between the two of them. So pretty good news there. And then finally, still on tech, on South Africa, the tragic killing of that rapper, AKA, there was CCTV footage that was released, which is the police are now asking community members to try to assist in identifying the perpetrators. But this is just highlighting as far as, I think this was in Durban where he was killed, unfortunately, only 35 years old. But you have to think about the importance of CCTV and, South Africa, again, the most industrialized economy on the African continent. Really important that this helps in terms of solving crimes and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's our update from the continent.
I mean, and it's a great point you raised about the contactless payment thing, and that's why I don't know. You see, it looks almost like madness to me that people couldn't get their PVCs. Because what's on the PVC, for Christ's sake?
Yeah.
It was just a barcode.
Right.
At the back that you were supposed to scan out, probably a couple of numbers there.
Yeah.
So why couldn't people even be given the paper with their barcode on the day they registered, rather than coming back and getting it on a plastic card and all of that? So I am happy you've got a lot of these innovations going on. Some oil company, some petrol filling station have their cards already. So you can just, like Total that I know of,
right,
have their own card, their specialized card that you can use with their system that never goes bad and all of that.
Yeah.
So you can just use the integration system. But I think for those that have been making the argument about, there's no enough infrastructure for cashless and anything, I think that result, and you see, I like when we deal with empirical data. It shows you the data on ground. So people that are doing all sorts, you can know that they're just funny. They're just being iffy. Yeah. This cashless policy is working. And concerning all those rebates, it's been done before. I remember the early days of POS machine. They used to give cash rebates for using POS.
So
what arguments are we making?
Just say one thing on this, and I hope that other state governors would adopt what Edo State has pioneered, because this is technology tackling corruption. There are ways that you can, close these gaps that you can easily take money off. I heard, millions of money as petty cash. That's ridiculous in the 21st century. So I'm hoping that other state governors would take on this. Like we mentioned earlier on, there are opportunities in diversity, and I hope that this hassle that Nigerians have had to go through in the last few weeks would not be in vain.
Well, you made a point about CCTV being used in the investigation of the suspects in the killing of Forbes, a.k.a. and his friend, at that Durban restaurant. Well, once upon a time, Nigeria toyed with the idea of CCTV. Contracts were awarded. Nothing ever came out of those contracts. And the idea was that there would be pilot zones where Nigeria would deploy CCTV to fight crime. It's one of those mysterious things in Nigeria, whatever happened to the CCTV. In those places where CCTVs were made available in this same country, anytime there was any kind of disquiet, the first thing Nigerians will do is to stone the CCTV or destroy it. So different society, different culture. Most unfortunate incident, involving the rapper, very talented. But I hope the police, they do thorough investigation. About Edo State, saying we'll go cashless on March 1. Yes, the big thing there is the fight against corruption. The government itself used the word transparency. Don't trust civil servants with the handling of cash. So, I mean, I don't like the idea of Nigeria being forced, overnight to go cashless. It can be a gradual process. But the transparency part of it is what is most important. And then Sharami Energy, a group in Sahara Energy, with NNPCL, they've done very well. This is stakeholder relations, community development. And the reports indicate that community and the environs are already benefiting from this initiative, gas to power project. It's also clean energy, but I hope that the companies that are involved will be given incentives so that other investors within that axis will be encouraged to do similar things.
Indeed.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
for bringing us the African Business Update.